Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Tuesday, November 21st, 2017, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Our guest today is Scott Anderson. He is the Director of Sales for Cupix. And hey, Scott, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you again, I should say, because we've visited in the past by video chat. And Scott's going to take us through Cupix for newbies, and I think every opportunity we have a chance to do Cupix versus Matterport to give you context. So if you're thinking about buying a Matterport camera and you kind of want to understand the Cupix platform, this video is for you. And if you already have Matterport, but you kind of want to know about other solutions, this show is also for you as well. So Scott, I thought perhaps you could start out by maybe giving us a demo of what a Cupix 3D tour looks like.
Sure, yeah, we can do that. So what I'm going to do is open up a window and share my screen. So thanks for having me, Dan.
Yep.
And what we're looking at is a Cupix tour. So you can actually see any of these tours directly from the Cupix website. So if I go to cupix.com, we've got a couple of construction examples. We've got some nice case studies. There's this video that does a pretty good synopsis of what Cupix does. But right here in the case sample 3D virtual tours, we've got a real estate example, hospitality, retail examples, and also a construction site. So one of these is basically what I've got loaded on the screen. So right here inside.
And excuse me, Scott, if we wanted to come back to this, we'd go to cupix.com, cupix.com.
That's right. Yeah, cupix.com. That'll get you right there. And then from there, you can also try it yourself and get access to Cupix. But with this page right here, since we're on the desktop, what you can see is a floor plan. So this is a floor plan that was generated in advance. It's not necessary to have this here, so you can definitely hide that floor plan if you wanted to. But this is what you get as a result of uploading files. So I've started in the bathroom. If I wanted to go over here into the kitchen, I could look around in the kitchen. And what we're running this off of is a webinar and AWS, which is infrastructure for hosting data. It's a high-speed data infrastructure network, which means if you're loading this in the UK or if you're loading this in South America, the data will be ported down there into the UK or ported down there into South America, so you'll have really high-speed access wherever you go.
Yeah, so Scott, I want to point out that we are using a conferencing software, so it may be that there's some latency that you wouldn't experience if you were going right to your website and looking at it. I think just the nature of doing WGAN-TV live at 5 and how we do the back end may not quite do you justice, may slow up or such, but I wanted to point that out. And also that we have in our virtual studio audience joining us is I see Petra Soderling, the founder of Blue Sketch. Thanks for joining us, Petra, and also Leon Van Swell. Leon is all over 360 cameras, so I think he's particularly interested in your platform. So we'll ask them later if they have some questions as we go.
Okay, yeah, and I have some of my favorite 360 cameras with me today. So since we're sharing screen and the latency ain't all that bad, I could pop some of these up on screen and just show what we're using and how portable and how easy these are to move around.
Okay, but let's take a little bit more walk through it to feel that walk around experience. Maybe we can walk into the Cupix.
Right. So if we wanted to go left, I could scroll over here and hit the button to go left in this direction. If I wanted to go back to where I was, I could scroll over here and go back in this direction. If I wanted to go right, I could click over here and move right. If I wanted to go further right, I could click over here and make my way further in this direction. And what you'll see is some annotations and text that's being written on the wall. So that text doesn't actually exist there, but what we've got is a full 3D environment. So these objects actually exist in 3D. And so as we move around and navigate through this space, we're really natural transition of all the geometry. So if we wanted to go over here into this bedroom, we could click on this wall, and that would take us into the bedroom. So we've got essentially a virtual tour experience from Cupix, and this is all.
Sort of looks like maybe either a little bit like a Matterport Spaces 3D tour, or with the sergeants on the floor there, maybe a little bit like a Google Street View experience.
Right. Yeah. Google Street View obviously does this too. And Dan, who was the first to pull these tours together? Maybe you can educate. Would that be a Google Street View or a Matterport, or who was the first to make this available?
Oh, I would say Google's been doing this well before anybody else. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So yeah, you've got that walkthrough experience. You also have a floor plan here. So these nodes represent camera locations. And what we've done actually is there's more camera data that's collected in each of these rooms. For example, there was a photo right here at the doorway, and that's just our recommended practice, is to take an extra photo there. But we've hid this from the tour. So there could be some more photos here, but we decided to hide a couple of photos from the tour. So if we wanted to jump to this area, then we can jump to this area of the room if we wanted.
So this would be an example of something that's way different than Matterport. There's not a location map within the view, nor is there show me which direction am I looking at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then that would definitely be different from Matterport in that sense. Yeah.
And I think we saw some annotation. We didn't click on any of those circles, but presumably, could you give us a quick run through of so there's an example of text. What else can we do in terms of annotation?
So in terms of annotation, what we've got are these 3D objects in 3D space. So that is right there on my screen. So as I move in this direction and in the other direction, then I've got these pieces of annotation staying inside of my screen. But while I'm in the living room, I can see these annotations. But if I were to move to the bedroom, say bedroom 2, then those annotations disappear. So that's important. This is a 3D model that's being generated. So there's a wall between the bedroom and the bathroom and the living room. So any annotations or 3D text or 3D geometry that we have that's separated by a room, you wouldn't be able to see those. It would be hidden, and that's the experience that you get here. So you can add some text, and what I will do is jump into the editor after we've talked about this player, and show how you can add additional text and additional information to the tour as needed.
Okay, so this is the example of a walk around 3D tour.
Yeah.
I think that's your senior vice president in the background there.
You're vice president of turkey and stuffing.
Turkey, yeah. Like me, you're working from home today, so I can appreciate that.
This is one of those weeks. Yep.
Yeah. It's early happy Thanksgiving to you. Sure. Is there anything else on the front end that you want to show us, or time to jump into the back end?
Yeah, there is actually. So we have spent some time to make this very easy to use across multiple platforms, including Edge, Firefox, iOS, Android, so a tablet. So if you're opening this tour up on any of those devices, you'd have this same experience. And if you're so inclined to get a cardboard box with some lenses to stick your phone into, then you can easily toggle this 3D VR view and just plug this tour directly in.
And is this what VR viewing devices is this compatible with?
Just about anyone that you can get your hands on. So we use WebVR.
WebVR. Okay, so anything that's WebVR enabled in terms of a device, which would include Google Cardboard, Samsung Gear VR, and that probably for most of our audience is suffice. And then for anyone probably at the next level of sophistication, just simply saying WebVR, I think actually tells the story.
Yeah. The description of a cardboard box, everybody seems to have some exposure to those cardboard boxes. But really, the Amazon website's great because they have overnight delivery. You can get these cameras overnight delivered. Just about all the really best 360 point and click cameras out there. And then the cardboard boxes, you're not limited to that. You can get some plastic ones with some okay lenses and some straps.
Okay. So got it. VR viewer enabled. And so we have the walkthrough mode. We have the floor plan insert is an option. No dollhouse view. So Matterport has a.
We're not showing the dollhouse.
Do you have a dollhouse view or?
We do have a dollhouse view, but it's not something that we're currently showing in this published view. So I will make sure to show that, and I think it's something that you can't miss.
I'm familiar a little bit with that. I'd say a dollhouse view in the data view, maybe a point cloud or a mesh view. But is it in this kind of what I think of photography view that is also an option?
It is not an option in the current view.
Okay. I think I saw the senior vice president of operations pop in there for a moment.
Yeah, they were supposed to take part of the day off, but they decided to come engaged in employment.
Yeah, I feel it. Yep. So let's take us into, how do you construct one of these? What's the workflow of how one ends up here?
Okay, yeah, and maybe real quick, since you mentioned it, I'll just show what the 3D view would look like, the top-down view. So in a publisher situation, you've got the view that I just showed, and then in this situation, you've got an actual 3D mesh. So this is 3D representation. What we're doing is we're hiding the ceiling. Because if we showed the ceiling, we wouldn't be able to see the bed and the other rooms being shown here. If we're looking at underneath, we're hiding the floor so we can see the ceiling, because if we showed the floor, then we wouldn't be able to see any of the other geometry. So that's the type of view that you would get with the on the 3D side. But yeah, how about we go into, I would like to go into this slide set that I've got. And
okay.
I think this does a really good job of explaining what we can do with Cupix.
Okay.
Okay, great. So this is a fresh graphic.
So we do have a challenge, Scott, is that the screen has frozen. So I don't know, maybe you can, because we didn't see a 3D view. Yep. Now we're now we're back at a menu. Now we're seeing the three-dimensional model. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so here's a 3D view. Thank you for pointing that out. So this is the 3D view. We can't see the floor. We can see the ceiling. We can't see the ceiling. We can see the floor. We can't see the walls until we rotate in a particular view. Since this is only interior geometry, we're not seeing exterior geometry.
Okay. And I should point out that Cupix is still in beta. So it's at the moment is totally free in beta. And so we're kind of getting a sneak peek at what exists today. Plus, actually, for any We Get Around Network Forum member can get a free account simply by visiting, I wanted to say, help me out here.
Yeah, cupix.com. You'll find it right when you go to the website, and that'll take you directly to
set up a free account.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Okay.
All right, great. So we actually see, I guess, what I would call a constellation map on the left. Maybe I'm jumping ahead. So why don't you take control of how do we get to the finished 3D tour?
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to kind of preview this just so that we could see what that 3D view looks like, and this contrasts the 2D view where you're just navigating between different points in space, and this is the 3D view where you can actually see the top view and other geometry inside of the editor. So I would like to show now and really go back to maybe a more structured sequence of things to show, and this would be the start of it. This is what Cupix will do. We've got the ability to take 360 photos from any 360 camera. So here's one of the cameras that I like to use, and the reason I like to use it is it's small, it fits in my pocket, and it's also what's shown on the graphic here.
Is that a Ricoh Theta S or something else?
It looks like I picked up the Ricoh Theta V out of my bag, but we had great success with the S and the SC. It's just a little less speedy, but the reason why we like it is there's low distortion in the photos, which is important for photogrammetry. And photogrammetry is the technique that we're using to construct the 3D models. So whenever you've got a lot more distortion in between cameras, then the ability to link up the different photos and calculate a 3D environment becomes compromised. So with certain cameras, even the more expensive cameras, you might not have the same optical quality as you do with a low distortion camera like the ones we have from Ricoh.
So for our WGAN-TV viewers, I think what I just want to point out, because you said quite a bit right there, is using the Cupix platform, you can use any 360 photo camera. So you don't need to buy a Matterport camera. You can buy a camera as low as $130 that shoots 360 photos. So if you're wondering about, a list of cameras, if you just simply go up here to the tab that says cameras, you'll see the Ricoh Theta series of cameras as well as a ton of other cameras. And literally they start at about $130. So the second thing I think you pointed out there, Scott, I just want to amplify is with the Matterport camera, the camera captures three-dimensional data in order to do the magic of Matterport. And I think what you're showing is with Cupix, you don't need to capture the data using a vision computing process called photogrammetry, that you are able essentially to do the same thing that Matterport does by capturing data, and you're doing it simply with the actual 360 photos. Is so far so good?
Yeah. I like it. I like that. Here's two other cameras. So this is a Chinese manufacturer called Me something or another, but it's very easy to take a photo. You just hold the camera up and take the photo. So it's just point and click. If you're moving the camera around, then you've got things that are shaking in the view. This is another camera that was as low as $100. But with each of these cameras, you can imagine that the photo resolution and the distortion between the lenses and the ability to get high optical quality is going to be different depending on the camera.
Yeah. So we Get Around Network Forum, our members likely are doing our best that as we get a new toy in is to write about it, share examples of what the imagery looks like to help people make decisions either based on a price point. Don't want to spend more than $300, don't want to spend more than $500, don't want to spend more than $1,000, or need this level of quality in order to accomplish whatever I want. So we're doing our best in the We Get Around Network Forum with members writing about examples and showing examples. I think the point as it relates to Cupix is that whatever 360 camera you choose to use, it'll work fine with the Cupix platform.
Right. So any new camera that comes on the scene, and one that we're pretty excited, which is an American manufacturer, is GoPro. They just a couple of days ago started shipping their GoPro Fusion camera. I think it's priced at about $699, and the photos look pretty darn good. So if what we recommend is if you're gonna shoot a scene today, then you can get on Amazon and get a camera today. But if you're not going to shoot for about a month, you better wait a couple of weeks because there's going to be a new camera manufacturer.
Yeah, I think what I would add to that discussion is that it doesn't really matter which camera you get. Just get something. The workflow will typically be the same. And so if you're right at the beginning of saying, oh, I'm thinking about putting my toe in the water, literally, whether it's a $130 camera, 300, a 700, or $1,000 camera, it's really easy to get started. And probably the advice that I would offer here is get started, because it's one thing in theory, but the other is actually doing. And when you start doing, you kind of go, oh, I get it. Okay, now I can figure out how to make money doing this. Oh, okay, maybe I'll go buy a better resolution camera. I was willing to spend 130, 300 or whatever. So forgive me. I know we're right at the beginning of where you're talking about. Any 360 camera will work fine.
And it's a really key point, because on the camera, so spending some more time on talking about this hardware is important, because ultimately you're going to be holding the hardware above your head and walking around for a construction type of scene. I mean, literally just holding the camera above your head and walking around. So we're really a different category of product than you've got with a laser scanner or an active system that's shooting rays of light out, shooting structured light out like the Matterport is, or shooting
infrared,
laser data like the BLK. BLK is a very passive system, which makes it great for shooting outdoors, shooting indoors, shooting pretty much anywhere. But that's a really key step in the overall process, and the most time-intensive step of the process is just taking the photos and just having a strategy for taking the photos. A lot of the other process is very automatic. So on this slide, maybe I'll talk about this. The Cupix software automatically maps 360 photos. So you just have to get a camera on your construction site and your hospitality suite, the retail location, and take photos. Will automatically map the photos to the 3D space, and will automatically generate a 3D model. And when you have both a 3D model and automatically mapped photos, you've got all you need for a virtual tour, and you've got all that you need for hiding or placing things on walls, or placing annotations on couches, or placing annotations on water coolers, because you've got a 3D environment that you're actually moving and navigating through. So things like sharing and collaborating on those tours, those are all maintained in our on our cloud. So you can share notes like the water cooler's been serviced, or you can share notes like the fireplace is gas, and as well as just walk through the tour. So the incredible features that we're describing here include cloud-based software. Everything's on the cloud. There's no special app or special software. You can use any browser to view the tours, but we do recommend using Chrome when you're editing the tours. All the collaboration is built in, so you can communicate and collaborate with anybody. And you've got that 3D data and 360 space. And we're doing some really important things for time-based differences when you're working on a construction site, or you're working in a real estate space. Maybe you have a pre-staging and a post-staging situation. Maybe pre-stage, you're taking some photos and you're generating a tour of what a place looks like before doing staging. That's really helpful for choosing couches, figuring out what size of rug you might want to put into the living room, figuring out what size of table is appropriate for the dining room. So that kind of 4D tracking, we call it, presents the ability to look at different 3D spaces across time. And these could just be as simple as 2 time points, pre-staging, post-staging, or in a construction scene. It could be multiple time points. It could be time points that are taken on a daily basis. And realistically, this setup is so fast. It presents a new paradigm in generating 3D models.
Let me see if I actually understand that correctly. Okay. It actually sounds fascinating. Right. So if I understand correctly, if I'm shooting a construction site and I shoot it on day 1, and I shoot it on day 2, and I shoot it on day 3, and I shoot it on day 4, and so forth, that within the same model, perhaps I can use a slide to say, okay, go back to this date, this date, this date. It's kind of like a time machine, back to the future. Is that, am I sort of getting that
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And you can imagine if you're the owner of the property, or you're the architect or the general contractor, whatever your role is in the construction, and you're having a meeting, and somebody said that they were going to do something last week, and then you go back and look 2 weeks ago, and it hasn't been done. And that kind of coordination and progress checking is just with it, you're a lot more coordinated and a lot more powerful.
So I could imagine an architect using that to show this was the before, this is the after. When we work with you on your project, we give you this kind of photography in real time so that your team can be making decisions in real time, particularly if you add that VR component. Imagine walking through the space as it's being designed and say, oh my gosh, that's just not going to work. Doing a change order, but maybe more importantly for the architect, because I'm always about how do you help a client, make more money, get bigger clients, that I could imagine the architect going into a potential client for doing a renovation project and say, let me show you the finished product, and let me show you what we were working with to begin with.
Yeah. What a great way to demonstrate the level of service that you can provide than having a pre-canned 4D tour and just showing that to win more business. I mean, that's there's real value in that, and it's a great demonstration of how timely you are, that you're providing more than just a start and a finish, but you're also providing progress and the ability for your clients to make decisions along the way.
Cool. You want to take us through some more features, and then we'll jump into a demo of how to get to the finished product.
Yeah. So an important point on that 4D tracking is just the speed of taking photos is really what enables the 4D tracking. We're covering about 1,000 square feet in a couple of minutes of time. Especially for construction sites. And I got a couple of videos on that, but one example that we were mentioning last week in Las Vegas was a 250,000 250,000 square foot photography set with some indoor and outdoor scenes that was captured in about 4 man hours. So quite a lot of data in quite a little bit of time. So we can expect that kind of throughput.
Yeah. I'd even embellish on that, Scott, is the Insta360 camera, for example, has interval shooting.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds pretty geeky, but there isn't any reason that you can't take a helmet and take a suction cup that mounts on the helmet and set your camera to shoot every 10 seconds and go walk the space. And really cover a lot of ground, particularly if you're talking about progress reports on construction of, here's what day 1 looks like, here's what day 2 looks like, etc. Somewhat geeky, but for the Insta360 cameras is less than $300. I imagine the section cup is less than $10, and however much a football helmet is, I suppose. And maybe you need a jersey on there. It says, photographer with stripes and maybe some shoulder pads just to be funny. But literally just go walk the 20,000 square feet. And then, oh, by the way, because I think one of the things you pointed out, you can shoot outside. There's no limitation either in terms of indoors, outdoors, or the amount of square footage that's being covered, correct?
Correct. Yeah, you can shoot a big trade show hall just as quickly as you could shoot a residential area or retail space.
Okay, cool. Other features you wanted to point out before we
No, I thought I would jump into the workflow and let
Great.
Just point those out as we go along. So this would be what you'd expect to do with Cupix, and by far and away the longest step in the process is taking photos. So about 1,000 square feet every minute, say 2 or 3 minutes conservatively. With a tripod, it might be slightly more. So you take the photos and you upload the photos, and while the photos are being processed into a fully automatic.
Excuse me, Scott, just for clarification, take photos actually means take 360 photos.
Yeah. It would mean holding up the 360 camera on your helmet or on a tripod and taking photos of the scene.
Okay.
Now, while those
Just in terms of workflow, because of this photogrammetry process, how close do the images need to be in order for this process to work?
Good question. In a very large space like a trade show hall or an outdoor space, the photos could be 10 and 20 and 30 feet apart, because we're using photogrammetry. A large space allows that kind of spacing between the photos. If you're in a smaller space like a narrow hall, then you'd have to have smaller spacing. It could be 6, 9 feet between photos, and for the same reasons, photogrammetry requires a tighter spacing and smaller spaces. So the key principle in photogrammetry is to have overlapping visuals between the photos, which means that as you're going in between a large room and under the threshold of a door, we just recommend spending a couple of extra seconds taking photos underneath a door, so a cluster of 3.
So it kind of begs 2 questions, Scott. If I'm outdoors and I shot at 40 feet and the camera can't do the Cupix in, cloud processing can't connect the two, is there a manual way to connect that I've made a mistake in how I've shot and your platform enables a solution? Or no, I really got to be careful that I have enough photos to connect?
Yeah, we provide those workflows to to manually fix any connection errors. So
great. And then the other question is, if I overshoot the space and it feels like I'm taking baby steps walking through the space, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to deal with the manual process of connecting the spheres. Can I hide 360 photos from the walking experience?
Yes, you sure can.
And if you're hiding them, are they still contributing to the photogrammetry, or when you hide them, it's kind of like deleting them?
Yeah, you hide them from view from somebody that's visiting the tour. So in a retail space or hospitality space, you could remove some photos so that you're not allowing the person to walk all over and take baby steps. But every photo that you upload is contributing to the photogrammetry, the generation of the 3D tour, and the integrity of the model that's being created.
Okay, great. Forgive me for slowing you up. Hey, all, if you're just joining us, I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. You're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Today is Tuesday, November 21st, 2017. We're visiting with Cupix Director of Sales, Scott Anderson. And Scott is taking us through the Cupix platform, both for newbies and also to Cupix platform to kind of understand a little bit about what's different about it than Matterport. And hey, a shout out to Leon and Petra in our virtual studio audience. And if you guys got some questions, just raise your hand and we'll take you off of the mute, or when we get to the end, we'll be sure to circle back to you. So Scott, forgive me, you were just about to talk about upload.
Oh yeah, so the upload is as straightforward as it comes. You can choose a file of files from a folder. You can drag and drop the files. While those files are being uploaded, you can change settings, like change your branding, change your custom logo, add assets. We call them assets, like a floor plan. Those can be images or PDFs or other drawing files. And you can upload those while the uploader is working, and you can customize the branding and do all sorts of things while those files are being uploaded. That's the basic process. The longest step, manual step, is taking photos. You hit the upload button. It takes a second. And after the photos are processed, which could take longer or shorter depending on how many tours are in the queue and how big your upload stack is. Once that's done, though, you're ready to publish or collaborate on the tour that you've created.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's the process. Can we actually see the cake being made?
Yeah. Well, this it's really straightforward. So what we have here is photos that are being captured, and the reason why we're showing this slide is that the order of the photos doesn't really matter whatsoever. Actually, the type of camera we already mentioned can be interleaved. So if you've got a high resolution camera and you want to mix in, you've got a worker with you or an apprentice that's taking photos with a low resolution camera, those can be tag teamed and combined together. The photos are going to look like this. So if you're using a Samsung Gear, make sure the photos look like this. If you're using Ricoh Theta, the photos are going to look like this automatically. But you just take the stack of photos, any order you collect them, and just drop them into Cupix.
Yeah, two things to point out there, Scott. I think I just want to amplify for our viewers. First, I think you gave me chills when you said, and you can have more than one person shooting content. I mean, how exciting is that? Because some of us do have spaces that can, even in the forum, there's been this week, last week, discussions about shooting, potentially 90,000 square feet. I think I estimated that even if it was possible to do that with Matterport, that's probably at least 12 days of full days shooting. And I think from what we just talked about, a handful of people shooting the space with 360 photos.
Yeah, to Sean Choi and I. Sean is on international travel. Sean Choi and I what's today? It's one of the recent Saturday morning. We went to a site and shot, like I said, about 250,000 square feet. Probably shot about maybe 75,000 square feet indoors. That whole lot took about 4 man-hours of time with a Ricoh Theta, and we just held the cameras overhead. The tours all connected just right, and you've got something you can navigate around and work through. So yeah, you can definitely tag team, and the cost of these cameras, they're almost disposable at $200, $300, $400 a piece. You can really tackle some big projects.
Yeah, and I think maybe I'm going to get in the business of selling football helmets and helmet mounts to you, so that you don't have to go to your chiropractor related to holding that camera up like that for 4 hours. Muscles, yeah.
Tell me about it.
Your kids will probably appreciate the daddy's got a lot of muscles. Though you might be only like off balance a little bit. You're only building the muscles on the side that you're holding the camera up. So, but I think the point is there, Scott. It's like really is giving me chills the fact that more than one person could be shooting simultaneously a super large space. Two, that we're talking about using any 360 camera, so that kind of says, whatever the photographer needs for the quality that they're pitching to the client, there's a whole gamut of camera solutions. And certainly the piece I get super excited about is it's indoor and outdoor. There's no limitation on outdoor. I did want to point out that what we're looking at, I generally call these 360 photospheres, but what it actually is an equirectangular JPEG. And this is what Scott's showing there on that top photo is what a 360 photo looks like when it's laid flat. So this is kind of like back in 3rd grade when you took the globe of the earth maybe as an orange and you flattened it. This is how it ends up as an equirectangular JPEG or a 360 photo. So if you're looking at this picture and go, that picture looks weird, it doesn't look like, it's like all kinds of odd stuff. That's what a 360 photo looks like when it's presented flat. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for letting me interject that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so long as they look like this, they're ready to go into Cupix. So if they look funny like this and you're on the right track, and you just hit the upload button and they're there. So what we have here, Dan, we're still open for helmet mounts, because it's a nascent idea, and there's a lot of development that could still go into this. Is a video showing the different ways that you can take photos. So I'd like to play this for the viewers and for yourself to show.
Maybe you can play it and maybe make it full screen or something.
Let's see if I can figure that out. Let's see.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Traditional approach is to duck out of every photo. So if you're doing a retail space where you didn't want to be seen in the retail space over and over again in different areas, and looking like a photographer. You can use a tripod to move around. You can use a handheld selfie stick. And here's the helmet mount, where we've got one of our employees came in taking photos with the helmet mount.
Whoa, tell us about this drone going here. This is crazy.
Also a drone data. So we hope to have this a little bit sooner available to really show, but what we've got is stuff that isn't really ready to show. So the drone data implies that we're collecting data in a video type of format, which is really exciting because you can see that there's some stop and start, and that means extra energy, extra concentration, whether you're holding a selfie stick or have the camera mounted on the helmet. But a true video collection really opens up the speed gates even faster, even more, so you can collect more data, more information.
So forgive me for digressing, but a video capture means you might say, okay, we're going to take every 30 image in order to do the construction, or would you take literally all the images that you're capturing with video?
Yeah, we have an intelligent way to parse out changes between the photos and the implementation via Windows or Mac-based app, where your local software is picking that photo out based on what Cupix needs, and just have an efficient.
So we don't. Is it if we were shooting? And again, I know this is not even in your beta yet. That's public, but I'm fascinated looking at it. Does that mean that even when you do offer the ability to capture video, would I just upload the whole video to the platform, and I wouldn't have to think about, oh gosh, do I have to send every nth picture?
Yeah, on the user side, it'd be no extra effort. You just take the photos and you get them into Cupix. But one difference is that you wouldn't be uploading the photos. You'd be using our app, which is going to be Mac or Windows based, and that would handle the really large video.
Okay, thank you. And then looking at the drone, I don't know what it is, Scott. You're giving me tingles every time I watch. You show something new here. But in the We Get Around Network forum, there have been discussions about using drones to capture indoor spaces. And I'm not an aerial photographer. I'm not a drone photographer, but I do read a lot. And my impression is we are not that far away, and perhaps even today. Hopefully, somebody will say, "Oh no, this exists today." Is to be able to have a drone be able to autopilot to go through the house, through the commercial space, and map the entire space, because it's perhaps using scanning data or something to, I think about it like my robotic vacuum cleaner that is actually a scanner, and it's only doing the space once because it's smart enough to know where it's been. Let's see. I forget what my laser guided robotic vacuum cleaners, but I can imagine it's just the same process at some point, rather than having this gentleman on the left who's controlling that drone, that we'll simply say, hit the button and the drone takes off, and it maps the entire space in the most efficient way possible, mashed up with your platform that you now tell me you will be accepting video. And it's like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, think how useful that would be on some more mundane tasks around the house, like the refrigerator. I wish a drone could float around the fridge and just check if we've got lettuce or orange juice there when you're shopping. But yeah, this kind of capability, especially for like a construction scene, would really automate. Would help automate data collection, and I believe we're not very far away from that. Realizing that even in moving objects like this.
Excuse me. Let me just interject one more thing, Scott, because I know I'm getting super excited about looking at the drone, but there's also discussions in the We Get Around Network forum about robots mapping spaces that are using scanning data intelligently and efficiently map a space. And wow, putting a camera on top of a robot that is, and I don't mean any kind of sophistication of robot, but just a robot that's literally designed to do exactly, map a space. I mean, the world just keeps getting more exciting every day, and mashing that up with Cupix in terms of, you just take 360s, and or you just take video. And today, if you just take 360s and set the thing on interval shooting, even with your drone today, that would be possible. To just set the camera on interval shooting, boom, and then upload the data. So that's cool.
Yeah. That's an area of research. I think SLAM, SLAM, is a acronym to describe that self-mapping technology. So yeah, that's something that we are aware of.
But even the screen grab that you showed with your colleague there that had a helmet on with the camera mounted on the helmet, for $10, the cost of a helmet, you're off and running to just walk the space without getting there. There has to be a term for this. Somebody has to come up with a term for
Right.
for that pain that I'm going to feel doing that for 4 hours long. So there's the right tool for that.
Yeah, and this is a very relevant and important part of the conversation using Cupix, is just collecting photos. So I'm going to interject another comment here, is with the tripod, in terms of getting creative, is if you had a smaller person ducking below the tripod, that could save some time, and he or she, whatever you're paying him or her, if it's allowance money or if he's just crouching down a lot, you can get some really good shots of a space just by having somebody small hide in the nadir of the photo.
Or in a mobile device. So if you're sitting down and you're I don't know, doing it from a wheelchair, I mean, it opens up all kinds of possibilities in terms. So let's talk a little bit about the Nadir, let's call it a patch for the tripod, or the patch for that person. Do you mind what goes there? Is there something there? Are you putting a logo there, or do I have the option of what I want to mask out the tripod or the person with the helmet?
Yeah, you do. So we have a Nadir mask, and you can upload your custom image or custom logo there. You can just keep it black if you'd like, and that.
So literally everywhere the camera is, I could set a Nadir patch being a patch for the tripod or the person who's holding the camera. I could literally tell the story of the client to say either this was shot by We Get Around Atlanta, or I could say this was shot for the Gates Museum, or whatever it is. And can I do a annotation that links to a website? Is there?
Well, we're open to all kinds of feedback, but that's not
yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know we're going to get to a live demo to show us how the cake gets baked, but I know you have some other things you want to
show. So we do want to show some relevant steps in what takes place while the data is up on the cloud. Something that's as automatic as Cupix has got to be doing something in the background. So that's what this part of the presentation is. And this, whoa, what the heck? What in the world, I should say.
Okay.
Slide. Slideshow.
It's all right. Hey all, if you're just tuning in, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. You're watching WGAN-TV live at 5 today, Tuesday, November 21st, 2017. And we're visiting with Scott Anderson, the Director of Sales for Cupix. And in our virtual studio audience, hey Leon, hey Petra, good to see you.
Okay, so here we go. We like to use Google Sheets.
Here, give me for a moment, Scott. I need to plug in my computer. Just power came out for a second, so almost back, almost here. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is what's happening in the background. Once the photos are up, you have the equirectangular photos, and then we're doing something called feature matching between the photos. And this emphasizes the conditions for spacing when you're collecting photos, because you have to have overlap between the photos. So if you've got some common features between the photos and you're taking, you know, 3 steps, about 9 or 10 feet between photos, that should be good for a room of this size. So we'll match and figure out the connections between photos, and then we'll do this automatic 3D 360 photo mapping. So each of these represents a photo station. So we're computing the camera location and the orientation in 3D space. And what you're seeing here is a top-down view of the photos, but that's actually a full 3D spatial definition of each of the camera locations. So if you're standing on a chair while you're holding the camera, or you're standing on the top of the stairs, then that 3D location is actually 3D where the camera position actually is. So we're doing that. And then the model creation is automatic as well. We'll take the 3D dense point cloud that's being generated and compute regularized mesh. So this mesh is optimized for the web. It's optimized for the geometry, and then we'll apply a texture to that mesh to get it the deliverable that we have.
Yeah, this is so cool what you're showing here, because this, for many of us that are shooting Matterport, we're using a camera that's capturing scanning data, and that costs a lot of money, which is why our cameras cost a lot of money, because it's not just capturing the photography, it's capturing the scan data. And what you're showing through a visual computing process called photogrammetry, it's still possible, and you're using it to create a dense point cloud and this 3D mesh and this texture mapping, which is the magic behind Matterport. It's the magic behind Cupix, is this magic of how you do photogrammetry to create a point cloud and the mesh and this texture mapping. It's like amazing.
Yeah. If you've got just pure imagery, like if you got pure imagery, then that looks great. You can move from one side to the other. And if you've got photospheres, that's really meaningful, because you can see if something's red, or you can kind of get a feel on where something's located in space. But if you've got a 3D scene, a 3D model, the doors really open up. You've got the ability to take measurements. You've got the ability to show shadows. You've got the ability to place annotations precisely on a light fixture or a column or HVAC item in the scene. And when you've got that 3D definition, orientation and position means a lot more. So you can see exactly where things are pinpointing. You can see, take measurements. You can really move around the scene a lot.
Yeah, I think it's possible to look at this slide and either have one of two reactions: is have your eyes glaze over and say, why do I care about that? Because all I care about is the 3D tour. Or you could look at this and say, oh my gosh, this opens up the space for architects, engineers, construction, anyone that is doing 3D modeling needs what you're showing right here in order to do the magic of what they do in design. So even if you all are presently shooting 3D tours because you care about the photography, there's this wide open world of making a whole lot of money in the AEC space, and that's part of the magic of what we're looking at now for Cupix.
Can I interject? Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something? Yeah, I've drawn floor plans for Matterport and also for Cupix now. And the thing about what I love about the 3D mesh is when you take measurements in Matterport workshop, you kind of have to visually adjust your measurement tape, the yellow tape, to kind of draw it from wall to wall. But what happens here, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, it actually snaps to the 3D mesh. So I'm not an expert, but it feels a lot more accurate to me taking the measurement here than it does with Matterport. Was
So
that correct?
this,
It snaps onto the mesh?
Yeah, you're actually, when you put an annotation, like if you're pointing at the wall, you can snap the very tip of the annotation on whatever portion of the mesh. And likewise, if you're doing a measurement from wall to wall, then you can pick precisely where you want to.
Yeah, that's a great feature.
Thank you, Petra. So this is Petra Soderling, the founder of Blue Sketch, does a lot of 2D, 3D floor plan creation for members of the We Get Around network community, and also doing interesting things in terms of virtual staging and other solutions. Thanks, Petra. Feel free to jump in. Yep.
Thank you.
Scott, you know, it's kind of like Petra says, this is like, oh my gosh, look at how exciting this is to be able to have this photogrammetry that create, and not only is it a point cloud, it's a color point cloud.
Yeah, colored mesh, colored point cloud. Yeah, when you say point cloud and mesh, it's, if you get really picky, you know, somebody could say it's not a point cloud, it's a mesh. It's not a mesh, it's a point cloud. But you know, when you talk about point clouds and mesh, you're talking about 3D data that you can move around and touch and work with in different applications. So
yeah. So anyone that's doing any kind of CAD programming, to be able to have access to these files is magical. And for those of us that are service provider clients, this is an opportunity for us to generate revenue.
Right. So Petra did point something out about accuracy, and I'd like to make a point about that, is that there are different levels of accuracy from different scanners. I myself, in a later slide, will show where some of the heritage and experience from our Cupix team has come from. I myself have worked a lot in the 3D scanning space for both terrestrial and aerospace and automotive 3D scanning, and the range of scanners is and quality and the precision and accuracy of the data that's collected is a wide range. It's almost as wide as microscopes and telescopes and DSLR cameras and web cameras for photography. There's just a huge range of tools for collecting 3D data accurately. And what we have here is we don't have a point cloud that's going to be the same level as a piece of survey equipment, or the same level as, say, a laser scanner. What we have is conceptual and plan grade accuracy scan or measurement data. So we want to make sure that we're not overstepping and trying to compete with any survey.
Yeah. Let me see if I can restate this in a little different way, Scott, because I think about accuracy of data in three ways, and then maybe correct me if I'm wrong. In the first way, as an architect that's doing a renovation project, if the data is good enough for the architect to create designs to convey to a client, they don't need the accuracy of being able to install a mirror, or they just need it to be good enough to sketch or design in a CAD program like SketchUp to be able to propose a design to a client. So that's kind of phase one. Phase two is that the design needs to be good enough for subcontractors to quote on a project, to be able to calculate how much paint, how much floor, count doors, whatever it might be. So the data is likely to be good enough for phase one, sketching, visualization, good enough for subcontractors to quote on a project. And then in phase three, as I understand, the custom in the AEC space is everyone measures themselves for what they're doing. And frankly, no matter how accurate the data is, if you're going to install a door, you're going to come make your own measurements because you're not going to trust anyone else's data, because if that door or window or whatever doesn't fit, you're going to be the one that's going to have to replace it, not the person that did the original sketch. So I think in the third phase, for most of us in the We Get Around Network Forum community, it's likely that your point cloud mesh texture mapping is going to be good enough for phase one, phase two, and phase three, vendors are going to make their own measurements anyway.
Yeah, that's I really like the way you put that. Yeah, and that last measurement could be with tape, it could be with disto, it could be a laser scanner. Who knows?
Yeah, and I'm speaking in part from the remodeling that my wife and I did of a master bathroom, where I scanned the bathroom and the architect modeled it in SketchUp. And when we have a very tricky, interesting glass pane in the shower that does all kinds of odd shapes of how it goes from the ceiling to the wall to the floor. You bet that vendor brought in a laser scanner in order for that glass to be precise, because if it wasn't precise, it wasn't going to fit. And I don't think any even if we had brought in $150,000 scanner, the fact that we scanned it and not the vendor doing the glass, I don't think he would have accepted our scanning data anyway. He wanted to do his own measurements before he cut the glass for our custom installation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So that's you could definitely spend a lot of time on this slide. And well, I'll say one more thing before I suggest we go to the next topic here, is that these 3D cameras, 360 cameras rather, the noise and the optics and the sensors, they're only about 15 and 24 megapixel cameras. So there's not a lot of pixels in these photos. I think this one is about 25 megapixels. The Ricoh Theta is about 15 or so. So there's not a lot of pixels here, and they're spread across a whole 360 view. So you're not dealing with DSLR quality data. It's a really realistic situation where the data is just not perfect, even if you got the data on a tripod. So it's quite challenging, and our developers spend quite a lot of time to make this possible with your off-the-shelf consumer-grade 360 camera.
All right, cool. Are we up to seeing to see how the baking a cake? How this?
Yeah. Let's. This is just a final preview. So you'll get an auto-generated floor plan sketch. This is very nice because we've got these so-called polylines kind of drawn in for you, and this helps expedite the generation of floor plan creation and the accuracy of the floor plan creation, because these things are created for you. You've got the location of all the 3D photos, and you've got a camera locations with the connectivity to enable the virtual walkthrough, as it says there in the slide. Yeah, I'll get to the. Let's get to the baked tool.
That's okay. This looks like an interesting slide. You want to take us? You want to take us through it?
Yes. Yeah. Slide. Okay, so this would be what we saw in the last a live demo, which is showing the same tour. So this would be a common deliverable from Cupix, is just to get the embed code, so that you can drop it in your website or drop it in retail's website. And just, every MSP knows what that's about. You can view that with a mobile, tablet, PC, Mac, VR goggles, you name it. Very robust to any type of software that you're using. And from this, it could be the 3D tour with the camera locations. You could have some 3D highlights, so that you can navigate from the living room to the kitchen to the fireplace. And the embed code is what you would be delivering there. You can also enable some 3D measurements, but I'm going
to. Scott, when I look at this slide, I see two things. First, about delivering anywhere. So smartphone, tablet, laptop, desktop, and VR. So there's ways to view it. But I would also kind of add on this slide, particularly for members of the We Get Around Network Forum community, is that this embed code is going to play nice with WP3D models, WordPress plugin. So if you're using that, you're just going to grab that code and you're going to be good to go. And second, this would work perfectly fine with 360.tours. So if you're shooting a lot of 360s and you have a 3D tour and photos and video and other floor plans, other digital assets, This all perfectly syncs with platforms like 360 Tours, 360 Dot Tours, and WP3D models.
Okay. Yeah, great. Okay, and then the other type of deliverable, you know what, I'm going to just switch over to this.
Okay. I did want to point that out because a lot of the sharing may not just be simply taking iframe and embedding it in a website, but using it in a content management system that's designed for viewing and sharing. And that may be another way for people to not just deliver a 3D tour, but to deliver everything all together. Let's call it a single property website, for lack of a better term, that includes the Cupix 3D tour, the floor plans, a map, property description, video, photos, aerial, etc.
Okay, yeah, for sure. But you know what, I'm going to just go back to this because we'll keep it nice and coherent. Yeah, for content management, to have all your analytics ticking and all your all the access working together. Absolutely, yeah. Just take that embed code and drop it in. This would be more of a collaboration, situation where you've got a 3D model and you're doing some rendering or visualization. You're placing annotations on the site. You're working with point cloud, doing 3D texture mesh download, and you're merging 3D data across floor plans. So this would be the collaboration situation. So I'm going to show both of these live.
I would like to just ask Petra if you had any questions looking at that slide. You're our go-to for floor plans.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any questions. I've drawn a few floor plans for Scott using Cupix. I love it very much. The thing that I love about Cupix is that I think the real estate market in this country could really benefit from adding floor plans as, you know, one deliverable in addition to photographs and 3D virtual tours. And currently, there are really no good tools for getting the measurements so that people like Blue Sketch could draw the floor plans. So having Cupix being able to take a lower cost 360 cameras and create that 3D mesh and the point cloud, and then having people like us be able to create those floor plans, it's great. It's easy to do. I'm sure a lot of other people will be drawing floor plans for Cupix. The thing that I love that I mentioned already is kind of like the accuracy of the measurement. We talked about accuracy, but I'm saying that in terms of finding one point of measurement and then scaling the whole floor plan based on that one point makes the whole floor plan scale nicely, so that when we create it, we can really feel that we've created a coherent schematic floor plan that people, the home buyers, can trust that, you know, this measurement and that measurement are in scale, in proportion to each other.
Yeah, a great point, Petra. I think, Scott, one of the things we haven't talked about that is a differentiator between Cupix and Matterport is Cupix allows for measurement on the front end, so that anyone, I'm presuming if you've enabled it, that anyone can actually drop points and do measurements on the front end. You don't have to be in the back end of Cupix to do measurements.
Correct. And I'll show that as we jump into the example. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Leon, yeah. If you can take yourself off mute there, or I can do that for you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Question here. In terms of, I think its question is more directed to either Petra or Scott. In order to do the floor plan, do I understand correctly that one has to do a measurement of one to sort of create a gauge to improve the accuracy of the floor plan? Is that correct?
No, yeah, you do need a reference shape. Okay.
What I'm actually trying to ask you, do you have to calibrate in order to do an accurate floor plan? Do you have to calibrate one of the distances on the floor plan to get an accurate floor plan?
Yeah, you sure do. Yeah, you sure do.
So when you actually shoot on site, you actually use a laser distance measuring equipment, and then you measure between two walls, and then Petra, if I send that to you with, I say, between those two walls, that is the accurate measurement, then you can accurately draw floor plans. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And Petra, when you're doing some of your measurements, I could imagine that you're looking for things that are industry standard, maybe the width of a door.
Yeah. So ideally, I would get a reference measurement from the client. So the client would say that, I laser measured that wall and it's 10 feet or whatever. If that piece of measurement is lacking, then we would use an industry standard, just an estimate, a door width or I don't know, toilet seat or something like that.
So I could imagine, and I don't know if this is a question for Leon or Scott or Petra, that maybe We Get Around is going to be in the business of selling giant rulers or something, where you could go to a PDF and you print it out and it's the scale, and you make sure you shoot the scale in the space, and you can hide that scan or that photo so that it's not showing up in the 3D tour. But Petra, would that give you the measurement now that you need?
Yeah, I really only need one, because we do the rest of the scaling in the software where we draw the floor plan.
But if it was a paper ruler that was pulled across the space and it was photographed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe Petra, I'm looking for the holiday gift from you for the PDF file, which is the giant ruler to put up on the wall when shooting Cupix, so that Leon doesn't have to bring his laser measurer. It's just he can go print it out in the UK and be good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. Okay. All right. Good question, Leon. And thank you, Petra. And Scott, back to you.
Okay. So what I've got here is, Petra, I sent you a private message because I wanted to show one of the samples that
I know. I'm looking for it. At least I did the BK,
okay,
B-type one.
Yeah, I thought it'd be easier to find, but I'll locate it. If you happen to stumble upon it, then we can bring that up. What we got here is this, just to keep continuity between what we've been showing, is this is the actual editor. So this is what you get when you're working on edited tour. This represents photos that have been uploaded. So you can click on the photo, you can see any of the photos that have been uploaded. So there's some from the bedroom and from the kitchen. We've got about 53 photos uploaded of this space, which I'd estimated to be about 2,000 square feet or so. So really quick, quite a few photos to capture the space. And once those are uploaded, the software automatically processes the photos to create this tour, and that's what we're seeing. So we're seeing this tour being created, and you get a couple of things with the tour. You've got a floor plan that's being shown. That's what's over here, like so. So this is an automatically generated floor plan. We've got a couple of extra photos that were taken in this room, and we can hide and show these photos. So we can hide the photo and show the photo if necessary. Right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about six or so photos plus one in the restroom that are captured on the floor, but we could work with any fewer photos to be sure. And then what we have here on the left-hand side is the 3D space that's being looked in the floor plan view. Okay, so if we were to navigate and we wanted to change text, we could modify the text to say we get around network. Okay, and then we could move that text forward or back. We could rotate the text and change it back to Cupix. And what you might be noticing is that there's actually actual shadowing happening with the photo. So this is actually an object that exists in 3D. We're actually getting 3D information that's being added to that object.
So I'm just looking at the screen. I can change the text, the height, the width, the depth, the width, the color, the hexadecimal number. I can call up a color palette, select the font, and lock the position. Just trying to make that easy for someone that's maybe too small on their screen.
Okay, yeah, thank you. With the annotations that we have here, these are some shelves, and we've got some text that says IKEA, but there's no reason why we couldn't put a hyperlink to IKEA right here to the actual product that we wanted to link to.
So I think I'm seeing that in that description that I could add a hyperlink, and so I would imagine if I do a tripod patch, a Nadir patch, that I could actually link to the client's website if the tour was happened to be embedded someplace else.
Yeah, things along those areas would be possible.
Yeah, or for that matter, I want to order whatever that is through IKEA. That's the link that takes me to that item.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
All the text markup is possible there as well. The annotations.
Excuse me, Scott. Leon had a question. If you could unmute yourself there, Leon.
Scott, you're probably about to answer the question.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of clarity, what files can I drop into the annotation? Is it just hyperlinks? What else can I drop? PDFs?
Yeah.
Can I drop video? What can I drop in there?
All right, good question. So right now we can insert objects. So we got to fix that. We're running off of the staging server. You can put in photo frames. So if you wanted to put in a photo frame and choose an asset that you had already uploaded, then you could choose this, say exhibit hall, or and just have that as an asset, or choose a PNG and have that be part of the asset, or even just use a publicly available link. Let's see if I've got one here that I can pull up quickly. Here we go. Put the Cupix team here, copy Dropbox link. So I can just put a URL to a page and set that as the URL, and that would be content that could be added to the box there. So you can have these kind of objects being supported. We've got some requests for YouTube videos or other video content. Also some requests for OBJ files or PLY files that might link, link to actual geometry. That could be a vehicle and maybe a vehicle accident reconstruction case. It can certainly be some furniture that's being staged.
Scott, I recall you're just back from the Autodesk conference.
Correct. Yeah, we just got back from that conference. Right?
So, what kind of things are folks in the that are doing 3D modeling looking at this? What kind of things are they looking for annotation?
They're doing things like placing annotations for areas to check up on, check the status on, check for clearances, check for interference, just to write about anything that's happening on a construction site or in a maintenance situation. It could be as simple as noting where fire extinguishers are for safety purposes. It could be documenting a facility and just putting annotations in a space. So there's a wide variety of uses that come to play in an AEC situation.
Yeah, I could imagine in some cases the architect is in one city, the project is in another city, the construction foreman could literally be someplace else. And this is an opportunity to be able to shoot the space today and have the appropriate people review the marked up or not marked up. So the foreman wants to mark it up. It's got questions for the architect, or the architect's got questions, or the safety inspector is pointing out that you're missing the flashing here. Hey, I see that the construction guys, as we're shooting, aren't wearing their helmets. They're not wearing their help me out here. They're not wearing their hat, their hard hat. They're not wearing their hard hat. I see, all kinds of safety issues here that a safety foreman could look at a job site virtually and mark it up and tell the project manager that, you know, hey, here are things that need to be dealt with. We don't want to get cited for this stuff, and we want our team to be safe. So it seems like this annotation is really exciting. Could you call up one of your where you edit one of your? Do you have a name for it? Matterport calls it a matter tag. Do you have a name for it?
We're just calling them push pins at the moment. So with this push pin that's right here, I can pick a custom head point.
Yeah. So before you go on, I just want to kind of read out loud here. So I can name the push pin. I can title. So I presume shelves is the title. The name is the
ID. ID
tag. I think I have that backwards. Okay. I'm just trying to read what I can do here. In the description, I can do bold, italic, underline, make maybe capital letters, a hyperlink, and maybe a different font. Is that what that is?
I think that's subtext, actually.
Subtext, okay. And then I can control the width, the color. I can lock the position, show a leader line. Please explain that, and allow custom head point. Please explain that.
Okay, so let's look at the leader line right here. So the leader line is the orange line at the moment. Maybe we'll make it more visible by making it a red.
Thank you.
Okay, so the leader line is shown, and now it's being hidden, and now it's being shown again. And with the leader line, you've got a start point that's coming from somewhere on the 3D geometry. And this 3D geometry, it could be tied to say an annotation or some 3D text, or it could just be tied to the 3D mesh that's in the background. So that's me assigning this leader line to about where that outlet is, so that it's now tied to that that area of the mesh. So any place where I walk around to look at the annotation, it's always present there. It's always looking at that part of the mesh, always looking at that part of the 3D model. It makes it really meaningful to understand what is trying to be conveyed with that annotation.
Cool. Could you mouse over the different controls at the top and then perhaps the bottom and just point out what we're looking at?
Okay, yeah, sure. So what we're looking at is the floor plan on the left, okay? And then on the right, we have perspective, a walkthrough view. And so we're looking at it in walkthrough mode. We have a 3D mode, which shows just the raw 3D mesh without any texture. So you can see the annotations, so you can see the camera positions. And next to that, we have a 3D texture mode that shows the mesh with the texture applied to it. Again, you can see the annotations. And what you'll notice is if I decide to hide or look through the walls, look through the doorways, I have occlusion between all of the meshes and the annotations. So they're actually hidden depending on what the geometry defines. And then you have some tools like reset view and insert object. These could be things like a box that you can place inside of the view. And if you're placing a box inside of the view, you might want to drag this around in different directions or move it up and down. So you have those kind of options there. And this can be useful for defining a region of interest. If you need some information request from a performance making request on some area or some block of a construction site, and they can lay down this block and say, hey, I need to know what's going on here. I don't quite get it. So,
and I just want to read out loud for those, because I know the print can be small, that in that call out box there, it says object properties, name, width, height, depth, color, transparency. I lost the box.
We did lose the box. Where'd it go?
Maybe if you go back up to that menu there and just open.
There it is. Okay. You know what?
That's okay. I can control frosted glass, Clipping, not sure what that means. Show dimensions, show edges, and lock position. So clipping would mean?
Clipping refers to the 3D geometry that's present in the mesh. So I could, if I turn on clipping, then it affects how the mesh gets displayed. Not a very often used feature.
Okay, take us, if you would, if you could go back, if you close the object properties box, and then you started to go through the menus on the top right under the save button. The blue save button in the,
yeah, and that's about it. Yeah, you've got a walkthrough.
Walkthrough. Okay.
You've got a 3D mode. This is an internal setting that's not available in the production server.
Okay.
You've got a 3D mode and a texture mode. You can reset the view. If you're taking measurements, and we definitely want to show that.
Okay.
Let's look at that in one of these rooms. We can just do it from this room. Let me hide the objects for a second. That'll clear up the space. So I'll walk over here and I'll take a measurement from this wall to the other wall. I can measure a distance. So this was what Petra was describing. I can choose any area of the mesh that I want to. So I can choose, say, this area of the mesh and hit the shift button to select that area. And I choose this area of the mesh. And then you have the measurement being taken, and there it is. Okay, so there's the measurement that was just captured.
Went a little bit fast for me. I'm looking for that line that's going from wall to wall. That is those two yellow lines.
Yeah, let me get into a place where there's not so much going on. Maybe this room.
Okay.
Okay, let's try that again over here. Okay, so I've got the measurement tool. So I'll hit the shift key on this side. I'll hit the shift key on this side. And then voila, we've got the measurement.
And does that automatically assume that it's a 90-degree angle and it squares it up?
It does, yeah. There is that expectation in the measurement.
Well, that's been my expectations since July of 2014, since I bought the camera and the Matterport camera, and I must say it doesn't square up. Still to this day in workshop, unless I am using it wrong, that if I drop a point on that wall and this wall in a 3D environment, it's up to me to figure out if it's a 90-degree angle. Where, I don't know, just common sense would say, I don't know, with 98% of the use cases would be, I want to know the distance between this wall and this wall, and I don't want to know it on a diagonal, and I don't want to know it on a slant. I just want to know from this wall to that wall that please assume that it's 90 degrees. And I think what you said is, well, I wouldn't expect to do it any other way.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Matterport
versus Cupix. That is an example that it works the way one would expect it to work, which is drop a point and measure the distance. And you got to just figure that if you're going for opposite walls, I want a straight line, and I want to know what the distance is.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. So if you're doing floor to ceiling,
I see it's in metrics. I presume that I can get it in U.S. imperial, feet and inches.
That is a feature we're offering that we feel is very important.
So is it presently today, even in Cupix beta, that I have a choice between metrics and U.S. imperial feet and inches?
Yeah, it is. I think this, the last time I checked, if we didn't have this assigned early, it could cause a hiccup, but it looks like it's working just fine. So I can go to feet and metric and toggle between those really easily.
Okay, good. What else you got? I have some debris on the screen, which is a little box to the left of the word standard, to the right of the word show object. Maybe if you move your screen, I'll be able to see whatever other words that you have. I'm sure it's related to our video conference of how we're doing this, but can you just try sliding your screen down a little bit and let's see if I can, that fixed it. So I see photo resolution. So what's the difference between standard and whatever's toggled behind that?
Okay, so low resolution just helps out in the editor view so that you're not working with you're not working with high resolution photos that are being collected while you're editing. It's not really pragmatic.
So photo
for editing.
resolution in here only applies to editing. When I output, do I need to specify high, or it automatically defaults to the high resolution?
Yeah, it automatically defaults. It automatically streams into whatever your browser can and your bandwidth can support. So you don't really have to worry about that. But as we get into an editing situation, you might be doing things like adjusting photo gamma values, or adjusting color hues, or adjusting brightness or contrast, and that's something that I'll show in the publisher. Then it can be helpful to have the full resolution there. But once
this is interesting, because again, forgive me, but in Matterport I have no control over any of that. So let's talk about what does a photographer have control over? Can we change color saturation, sharpness? What can I do?
Yeah, you have controls. Those basic options. Yeah, adjust color. Right here would be a gamma increase, for example, and a contrast increase, and a saturation increase or decrease. So it's quite easy to make those modifications if you've got some exposure settings that are off.
So let me just read through all of them. In adjust color, I can change brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, gamma, vibrance, and thank heavens there's a button there that says apply to all photos. So how exciting is that? Boom, and you're done.
Everything, and then now everywhere I walk is going to have that impact. So you also have the reset button, and you can apply that to all photos to get right back to where you want to be. And when we're doing things like modifying geometry, there's undos and redos that work too. So you got a really nice user experience for making mistakes and fixing
okay,
those.
That's cool. Now I think we've covered everything. Well, I still see at the top overview, floor plan, publisher, and review. Is there anything you want to point out on those menus?
Yeah.
Can I make a comment while we're still in this view? Just a quick comment on the objects. I know a lot of people frequently ask about the possibility to stage a Matterport tour, meaning bring furniture into a tour of an empty house. And it's my understanding that a lot of people are doing different kinds of R&D trials, and they're getting close, but there isn't a commercial solution out there. So what you guys are doing with the objects, being able to edit the material of the box that you currently offer, and then you offer text mode. I know we talked about this a little bit, but wouldn't that be awesome somewhere along the line to have that feature in Cupix where you could bring in a whole chair or a couch or a table into a room?
Yeah, and we're supporting texture here, so place some texture on that, and then have a rendering engine to get some of the lighting in there. Yeah, that would be. Yeah. That would be.
I just think that looks very promising in that regard too.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Blue Sketch founder Petra Soderling joining us today at WGAN TV Live at 5. So Scott, other things to point out on that top menu?
Yeah, what I'm going to show here, so the overview is very straightforward. The floor plan, that's just a collection of photos. The floor plan is where you can bring in a floor plan. Let's say that Petra created this. Petra was looking for yours, but I think this is pretty... might not be quite as good as what you're creating, but I think it does a good example of showing what you can do with the floor plan. So this is a floor plan that is...
Pause there for a moment, Scott, because I know the text can be so small if you're looking at this in the forum. So on the arrange section 1, I can see the X position, the Y position, scale size, rotate, elevation, camera height, and then lock position. So I think what you're showing us here is there's the floor plan that's created on the fly automatically by Cupix, but that you can take a professionally drafted floor plan, let's say by Blue Sketch, overlay it, scale it, get it to the right size, and then that becomes the floor plan that you actually show where the camera is located. I don't know what to call it in the player, in the Cupix player on the front end on a smartphone, tablet, laptop, or desktop, and I'm looking at the floor plan. You've just shown, correct me if I'm wrong, but how to substitute a professionally created floor plan that can now be the graphic to show where the scans are located and which way they're facing.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that in rich detail. Yeah, so that's exactly what we have here. So on the left is, these are the controls for scaling the floor plan and rotating the floor plan. If it's off by a couple of degrees, you can move it at 15-degree intervals, for example. And then we've got undo tools that work like you'd expect. So I can unscale those changes if I need to, or drag and slide these around to my heart's content. But yeah, what we have here on the left-hand side is the automatically generated floor plan that's automatically created from the uploaded photos. And on the right, we have the professionally drafted floor plan, something that would be representative of what.
Yeah, and where is the button that says buy floor plans from Blue Sketch?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of development coming along, and one of the things that we want to talk about is Google Street View export, and then and that kind of workflow to take the data directly to Blue Sketch for those kind of.
Yeah. How did you bring the floor plan into this environment? I think.
Yeah, very, very simple. It's kind of like what you might expect. This is an image. So the floor plan image is over here. So if I were to click on this button, then I could choose
any digital asset, bring it in. This happens to be a floor plan, but it could be literally, this could be the architect's Revit detailed. Here's the heating and air conditioning layer. Here's the electrical layer.
You could simply be Google Imagery, or as well. Yeah, it could be anything that you'd want to provide there.
Crazy. Okay, cool. That's there's nothing like that for Matterport. That's really different. So that kudos.
Okay, so without the transparency and just with the camera positions, you can imagine that it might be tough to, let's get this out of the way, might be tough to locate where this goes. But with the automatically generated floor plan, it becomes really easy to snap these to corners and find exactly where this needs to go. So it's really simple to just get that locked right on, and there we go. So now, instead of dealing with the automatically generated floor plan, we've got the professionally generated floor plan, and that now exists like we've seen in the other player examples of Cupix.
Thank you. That's awesome. I see there are other tools. There's review. Well, I'm sorry. You're going to overview, floor plan, publisher.
Yeah. So this is about where we're at for. This covers about everything for the floor plan. The other thing to cover here is that if we had a mismatch, say these photos weren't connected, you asked that question. What if we've got a problem connecting, or what if we have to go in after the fact and collect some more data that wasn't available earlier on? Then we could have these different chunks of data that we could slide and drag around, just like we're showing here. So we can drag these.
So do you want to show how to connect some, I want to say scan, but it's not a scan, two 360 photos that haven't been connected, but you need to make a connection so somebody can actually walk the space?
Maybe a little bit later, because this one's a nice, this one's already automatically connected. So you really only run into those problems if you make you have an issue with photography, and if that does happen, it's really easy to fix. But I don't really have that on screen.
Okay.
But yeah, very easy to set up. And then in the publisher, we have the publish option. So I'm going to start up here on the publisher. Over here, we've got the publish. So we can preview the publish. This is going to pop up a view like we've seen before.
I see a save button. Does it auto save as I'm working, or I should save every once in a while just in case things kind of?
Yeah, you should save every once in a while. Yeah, that'd be good approach. Okay, so this is the preview, and this has the text that I have here. It's got the red annotation. There's supposed to be an image there. You can navigate around. You can navigate to any of the floor locations. So you can see the measurements that are in the view. What we have here on the bottom is a highlight reel. So you can go directly to the living room. You can navigate directly to the kitchen and navigate directly to the first bathroom. And so you can set up that highlight reel, and also define the thumbnail that gets created there, and also the orientation. So if you wanted to have a different orientation, where you're looking at the ceiling in one highlight reel, and then.
Now I'm confused. Where did you create living room, kitchen, and bathroom? I presume you.
Oh, did we not show that? Okay.
No.
Yeah. Then let's add another area. How about the bedroom? Okay, let's go to the bedroom.
Okay.
The bedroom entry. So we can add this bedroom entry as a highlight here. So this is add to highlights. Okay, so that I know we have.
Okay, great. Okay, so whatever's on your screen, boom. Now you can change the name, so you could have that on the highlight. Now I presume I have a way to navigate by traveling, either by walking through using the Sargent's, what I feel like is a Google Street View implementation, or I could click on a highlight and go right to that point.
Yeah.
And I have the map. So I have the floor plan view that I can see what scan I'm looking at, or actually presumably click on the scan on the map on the floor plan and then end up in that space in my view.
Jump right there. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. We have so those are the basic options. And then when you get into the customization options, you have autoplay, and you have a player background. So with a background image, we could upload something like, let's say this imagery right here, just something wild and crazy that you might want to upload. So that kind of upload would cause the preview to start with an image or some imagery of that a realtor might want to show. So I'm going to hit the save button twice here. And then when this loads, rather than going straight to the tour and eating up some of the bandwidth, you're showing a hero image of the property, or your face as the realtor, or whatever branding or imagery you want to provide. And then, so
it sounds like I have the choice of either immediately going into the tour or to go, as you described, to a hero image of whatever I decide to put there. I didn't understand. Wow, there's a lot going on here, Scott. Maybe I should stop talking and just let you do your thing.
Yeah. So this is the tour that we've really annotated and marked up quite a bit. So that would be it. You can go to the kitchen, the first bathroom, and the bedroom, and navigate anywhere you wanted to go. And that's what you get out of the player. So like for newbies, the process would be a lot less elaborate than this. You just upload the files, and then you just publish the tour. That'd be about the most of what you do.
That's okay, but I think we're all new to Cupix, so I think we can be a pro user, a power user of Cupix. So I think learning about the different tools. So I'm looking under custom player. It says autoplay, show Nadir photo, enable measure, enable VR mode, show floor plan, and blur faces. This is like a whole tutorial on just this box here. This is like this is very exciting, Scott. Seeing this stuff. So take us through each of those.
Absolutely. So I'm going to save these settings so that they appear in the player. So now I have Nadir photo. And excuse me, when Scott says Nadir, he's referring to like replacing the tripod with some image that we can grab. So it might be a logo and a phone number and a website for the photographer. Maybe it's the client's information. So that's when it says Nadir, Nadir, that's what we're talking about. And there's an example: virtual tour redefined, powered by Cupix. So we don't have to have the Cupix logo. You just happen to be showing it. We could substitute our own logo there. Absolutely. You can put your own logo, your own image there on the bottom. Absolutely.
Okay. So we have to pause for a moment and just, how excited is this? Because we're so used to Matterport putting their logo on everything, including the floor plans and including the 3D tour. So I think this is like an aha moment for those of us that are looking for a white label solution. Yeah, Leon.
Quick one. Before I have to experiment, what is the pixel size of the logo?
It's going to be shown right here in the preferences. So if you go to the preferences tab, I'll load that up real quick and I can answer that for you. Settings, preferences. Okay, this is where you can upload your own logo image, so you're not stuck with Cupix, and this is where you can upload your own Nadir photo. So it says pretty big, 512 pixels. Okay. But I believe there's been some a support ticket or two that's been added to that, so that might have changed recently, and we can have even a higher resolution.
So what I'm reading is JPEG or PNG format, width and height should be the same size, should be powers of 2, such as 64 by 64, 128 by 128, up to 512 by 512 in pixels. That is super exciting. That is exciting.
Awesome.
So you have 2 really excited people on your call, and I think I can probably speak for the 3 excited, 4 excited. We're all excited. I probably could actually speak for the We Get Around Network Forum community, because there has been so much energy spent on saying, why can't we have our own branding without it saying Matterport? And Cupix is saying, oh yeah, that's fine. We do that.
Yeah, that's fine. We do that. Yeah, you click here to upload, and you click here to change the image when you get started. Yeah, it's yours to customize.
While we're here, do you want to show the rest of this menu on the left?
Yeah, let's take a quick look. You can have a watermark image. This is going to be the image that loads up when the player first loads. That branding and theming is pervasive through the player. Here's the Nadir photo. You can change some of the initial fields of view. So when the player first loads, are you looking at a wide screen or a narrow screen? For the floor plan background, if your floor plans are coming in a darker color rather than a lighter color, or your CAD files black background with white line work, you could use a dark background. If it's the other way around, with the dark background and white line work, you could use something different. You can change transparency and floor plan color, and you can toggle between a couple different languages, Japanese, English, and Korean, and you can change the units to whatever best works for you. And then on the account settings, you can customize your own logo. This helps with collaboration cases. So if I'm sharing with, if you're sharing with Petra, and Petra is making a floor plan for you, then you're going to recognize her face and be more comfortable sharing that. And then if you're sharing with your other contractors or other owners or other business associates, then they can each make those modifications very easily. And there's some settings like email notification and newsletters and just some other basic.
So Scott, I think what I'm hearing is on collaboration. Can more than one person be in this editor at the same time?
Yeah, so we're going to get to that after we got to the publisher tab. So let's go. Why don't we go back to get out of this preferences area? A lot of windows open. So get out of the preferences and go back to the 3D tour, and specifically the 3D tour that we were working on. So with the 3D tour that we're working on, we're focusing here on the Nadir photo. This is enabling measurement within the view, within the 3D view. So if we wanted to let somebody take a measurement in the master bedroom using feet as measurements, then they could do that directly from the player. So you have those kind of options there. And then blurring faces is really pragmatic if you're taking a tour of a live scene. So for example, at the mall or a restaurant, and just capturing all the action and the excitement that's there. You want to capture that action. You want to capture the people there, but you don't want to have their identity shown. So the blurring faces really helps out.
Could you show us how that works? I recognize you don't have a person in there, but just the mechanics of how I would just blur.
Yes, you hit that button to blur, and I'm going to have to find one. So I'm going to just pause the screen just for a second.
It's okay. We don't want to take ourselves down.
Dan, I can attest to that. I shot a hair salon which had some posters on the wall. There were no live people in there. And I came back to it, and it had all the faces blurred. And I was a bit perplexed as to how to fix this. And I just went back in there and I put the toggle off, and all the faces came back into, on the posters that were on the wall, it came back to normal. So it works really well.
So I was thinking I would actually have to isolate each person, draw a circle around
it automatically does. It does face recognition, and it automatically just blurs the faces.
That's amazing. That's super exciting. So I could imagine if you're shooting a 200,000 square foot space and you got people all over it, whether it's a construction site or in a shopping center or something, you hit the button for automatic blur faces and it just does it.
Yeah, that's
I think it's set on default on automatic blur. So you have to, if you want to show faces or images on posters or whatever, you have to put the toggle off.
It's terrific. Okay, cool. Thank you, Leon. Scott?
Thanks. And that's about it. You can grab the embed code if you want to put it on a website, or you just grab the link, copy the link to your clipboard, copy the embed code to your clipboard.
So you already have the button on publish, so it is published. So I can keep doing all the changes in a preview mode. I can keep saving as working on it. And then at some point, I'm going to hit the toggle to say publish, and then it's going to enable me to be able to grab the embed code or the link to it.
And then everybody's familiar with this, so you just put that where you need it to be, and then you're off and running.
Cool.
This is the iframe embed code. Yeah.
Cool. Now there was another menu we were looking at on the left side back when we were looking at the branding piece.
Oh, it was there. Okay, I jumped ahead to the publisher. So this is the branding piece.
How do I get there?
This is the preferences. So this is available through the base account. So
okay. All right. I'm in the preferences. And so now I can look at, with 3D Tour, we've been through, what else you got?
Okay. So let's stick with it. Let's continue with the tours and then look at the review, review section here. So the review area is going to allow me to insert an object in the floor plan. I'm low resolution here, so I can insert a push pin. I'll just place it on the ceiling. Our custom head point, place it on the ceiling. And then what we've got is, I'm not sure where that is, but what I want to show is the real-time collaboration. So we could have Petra and you and Leon all in the same session. We could say, check the room. Okay. And then you could say, check the floor, and check the clearance, and check the staging, and have all those options defined there. And that would be something that you could communicate and collaborate with in real time. So that's a real-time collaboration. And where that really becomes particularly valuable is in a in a communication setting, like and I'm going to jump a little bit here to a place where the collaboration becomes a little more meaningful, is in this construction site, where I can turn on a compare, both communicate here and add a reply, like add a reply.
Your founder calling in to see if you're working.
Yeah,
he should be watching.
Should be watching. Yeah, he was invited. Yeah, and then a comparison. So this is pretty powerful. This is the time based sequence.
Scott, I'm fine on time. I know we've been talking for 2 hours. If you're good, I'm good to keep going. This is just amazing, and I think this is tremendously helpful.
Okay, yeah, I do have a time. What time is it, Dan?
It's 7 o'clock Eastern time.
Okay, I do need to wrap up here.
Okay.
By 7 would be great.
Then let's make sure we talk about Google Street View. I just give you a chance to chat about what's coming there.
Okay, yeah. So I'll wrap up this tour and then we can talk about Google Street View. This covers some construction application. I think we covered a lot of what we wanted to do here. So this would be a tour that was taken about 2 months ago. Okay, and this is a tour that was taken about 2 days ago. So we got 2 different tours at 2 different days. And if I were to look at the ceiling, I could see that the ceiling's installed. If I look at the landscape, and landscape is installed. And if I wanted to unsync cameras and zoom in over here, I can unsync cameras and I can independently zoom into these different areas. But if I wanted to sync cameras, then by syncing cameras, anywhere I navigate, we're going to try and find the nearest location between the 2 tours. So whether you've got 1 time point or multiple time points, and literally this could be taken every day, certainly every week, but you know, really pragmatically every hour, just because of how fast the data collection time is. You're talking about minutes on a site.
That's amazing. Let's try and keep you on track. So if you could pop us out of the share screen, we'll all end up on the same screen here today. Scott, if you could stop the screen sharing.
Okay, sure.
And I think that's cool. And still see the screen share. You should have an option. Yep. Okay, cool. Google Street View.
Google Street View. Yeah, so that's another exciting export option that we are introducing just right around the corner. Google Street View will allow a workflow ready capability with Cupix. Since we're automatically figuring out all the camera locations, we are going to enable you to pop that into Google Street View so that you can have the tours embedded on a website. You can have them on Google Street View for search and all the marketing benefits of, that you get from there. And that's right around the corner.
And is it Cupix is in beta. It's totally free today. Cupix, Cupix.com to do beta. Do you have pricing yet? Is it too soon to talk about pricing?
Yeah, we've got a standard response for pricing, and we're providing nothing else that's going to be reasonable and reasonable. So we're going to provide a reasonable pricing. It's more than likely going to be subscription based. You're going to be able to generate tours, and you'd be charged a reasonable amount for that capability. But we don't have a set cost on what that's going to be, other than to say that it shouldn't be a surprise. It should be reasonable, and that it should be right around the corner, right around January timeframes. Might be the time when we finally launch and exit out of beta.
Cool. Scott, so, any question we haven't asked you that you're just dying to tell us?
I did want to explain a little bit about our company, just real quick, a little bit. So the team behind Cupix, we've been here working on this for over two years. We're part of the same team that did a lot of scan data processing, a lot of as-built modeling from aerospace to construction. We're experts in computer vision, 3D, web application. We've got an office in the US. We're Korea-based. That's where a lot of development takes place. And we're venture-backed, and we're been working a long time to get to where we are, and we are dying to get your feedback on just how this is benefiting you, because every decision we make is user-based. So the more information, more feedback we get from customers. Like, for example, this latest release is really a product of a lot of customer feedback, a lot of input. So the more information that we get from you, the better we can make this software for the members at WGAN and other users across industry.
Terrific. Leon, did you have a last question for Scott?
I'm just trying. Scott, I've got many more questions for you, but I don't have the time. In the small amount of time, congratulations, guy. You've done an awesome job. I'm absolutely blown away by the product. I've done a couple of tours, and I'm just putting my toe in the water with it, and I'm just keep on discovering the amazing possibilities of this product. And even tonight, I'm blown away. I think one of my earlier questions, and I know this is a difficult one, but for me, the important part of making this go viral is the ability to publish a very frictionless interaction on social media.
Sure.
Now I've been experimenting with social media quite a bit, and following the eyeball of the consumer. And if you and what we need on, say, Facebook, for example, and you've got other platforms as well, is to have like in the movies, you have a little trailer which you can edit into it as a video type of content, which will, if you click on it, it links through to your player. Because at the moment, just putting a pure link onto Facebook or just a picture, but tonight I discovered you can actually create a thumbnail for your picture, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can publish to Facebook, which you can then determine the visual content of that.
Brand new feature from the users. Yeah, exactly.
But I do feel we need a moving image, even if it's just a soft moving panel or something that pulls a user's eye into the picture and cause him to improve your click-through ratio into the tour.
Scott, do you want to speak on social media?
Yeah, you can. So Leon, on that point that you make is really important for conversions and the end user being able to share that content. And a lot of the social media is optimized for images and for videos. So if you've got a video that can immediately stream as a preview content, maybe you could have keyframes between different positions on a Cupix tour, which would be along the lines of our guided tour development feature, which is also around the corner. But if you could also generate a video on the cloud that you could then download in whatever resolution that's generated on the cloud, then I think that's what you're asking. I could see the value of that for sure, but a couple of things have to happen, including the keyframe and the guided tour development. But I think that's an area that we know is important to increase, as you described, the virality of the user's content and what they post on the YouTube and other social media, Facebook channels. And
Petra, did you have either a final question or comment?
No, other than just congratulations on a great platform, and welcome to the forum and the network. Looking forward to working with y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
So Scott, thank you so much. I know we've been visiting for about 2 hours. Cupix Director of Sales, Scott Anderson. Scott, thank you so much for participating today.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. It was great. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. And we were lucky enough to have some virtual studio audience members today. Leon Vancel, a super enthusiast in the We Get Around Network Forum in the UK. Blue Sketch founder Petra Soderling in New Orleans. Scott, I want to say in Silicon Valley.
Palo Alto, Los Altos, Sunnyvale. Yeah.
So out in the Silicon Valley area. And I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today, Tuesday, November 21st, 2017, and you've been watching WGAN-TV live at 5. And let me see if I can hit my stop recording button. So thank you all for tuning in. If you missed any portion, we're going to record. We've recorded it, and we will publish it in the We Get Around Network forum. And Scott is in the We Get Around Network forum. I want to say it's Scott_Cupix. So hopefully, if you still have some questions, Leon, Petra, or those that are watching, Scott's been really good about answering your questions. Is very eager for feedback. So thanks all, and enjoy your evening.
Thanks.
Thanks, Leon, Petra. Bye-bye.